All right, everybody, welcome to the PowHER Hour by the Center for Energy Workforce Development. I'm Concetta. I'll be your host today. I'm an electrician by trade, but today we're going to be talking about plumbers, fitters, and welders. As always, we're going to take some time to answer your questions about midway through and then again at the end. So as soon as the questions come up, put them in the chat so we can get them in the queue and get them answered for you. So plumbers, fitters, and welders are essential in the energy industry, particularly in oil, gas, renewable energy projects, power, and power plant maintenance, primarily found in work involving installation, maintenance, and repair of pipes, valves, systems that transport water, fuel, and steam. So today with us, we have Nicci, Tanairi, and Jenny, who all play vital roles within the pipe trade. So we're really excited to have them. We're going to kind of just kick things off with our introductions as we usually do. So let's start with you, Tanairi. Can you tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm Tanairi. I'm a local 12 plumber, licensed in my trade, journey person level. I picked this trade because it's a licensed trade that provides job security.
All righty. All right, about how long you been in your trade?
6 years.
6 years. Okay, you may have said that and I just missed it at the beginning there. All right, so let's go ahead and go forward with Jenny. Jenny, can you tell us a little bit about you and what's your trade?
So I'm Jenny Moore. I'm out of Savannah, Georgia. So I am a gas worker, natural gas. So I actually work for a company, Atlanta Gas Light. I'm a foreman, operations foreman. I've been doing this job for 5 years. We have an inside local that we work with as well. So love this job. I found as a young child that I've always wanted to work with my hands and have a challenge every day. So this is something that just kind of is right up my alley to do. And I love being outside and I love working with all the guys that I work with.
All righty. Nice. How about you, Nicci?
Oh, hi. Well, I'm Nicci Navarro, and I'm a proud combination welder and pipe fitter with UA Local 140, where I've been a member since 2013 and officially initiated in 2015. The union didn't just give me a job, it gave me a career, standards, and a future. I'm a full-time instructor at the Utah Career Center now, and I'm also the vice president of Utah Women in Trades, an organization that I've been committed to for over a decade. My work lives at the intersection of labor, education, and access, right? So making sure the next generation understands not just how to weld or fit pipe, but what it means to be a union tradesperson and have that standard of excellence. I've worked with women, justice-involved individuals, and other non-traditional workers entering the trades, and I hold them to the same high expectations our unions were built on. So that's a little bit about me.
All right. I have to commend Nicci. I've seen her in action, both in the classroom and do it and engaging with people in the different trades. So I feel pretty lucky to be able to observe that firsthand. So Nicci, let's just stick with you for a minute. And how did you get your start in welding?
I got started in welding because I wanted to build smokers. I have a degree in culinary arts, so I'm a chef also. Many hats I wear. So I wanted to build a bigger smoker so I could do bigger events. And when I started in my welding program, it was just a trade program, not a union or anything. And they were like, "You're really good." And I'm like, "Okay." So thought they were just being nice, and they're like, "You should try some competitions." 4 months in welding, I did my first competition and I won, and that qualified me to go to regionals. I did that 2 weeks later, won that. That qualified me to go to state, which was 2 months after that. In that 2 months, I broke my wrist. But a week before the competition, I cut it off and I went and I did it. And I
got the cast off or the wrist off? Because
the cast, I got both hands. So I cut my cast off, I did the competition, and I placed third in state. And so I had 6 months experience welding at the time in all processes. Well, not all processes, but the majority of them, right? And so when I went in, I was competing against 33 other individuals that had between 8 months and 2 years experience. So I felt like I didn't really have much time, but being able to get that third place really got me where I need. And from there, that's when the union started hounding me. But I was working at another location after that. So like not union, it was a double-breasted company, if you will, which it's like union and non-union side. So I had an idea of unions, but I didn't understand them at the time, if that helps.
Go
And
ahead.
then when I joined the UA,
UA, what does that stand
is
for?
United Association, UA Local 140. And I did my whole apprenticeship with that. 6 months after I completed my apprenticeship, they asked me to come back and be an instructor for them part-time. So I was still in the field working, and then I would do work, come in and teach welding on Saturdays. And now I am the full-time welding instructor because we just transferred into day school instead of nights and weekends. And so now, and that's this week, we just kicked it off. It just started. It's been phenomenal. A doozy. It's been hectic, but great.
All right. So you started off wanting to build a smoker. You started off as a chef.
Yeah.
And then you went from a chef to a welder. And then you went
Yes.
from a welder to where from there then?
So
To
from a
competition.
welder
A competition welder.
a competition welder to being, yeah, I know, it's a whole lot. It's a competition welder to being a pipe fitter. And then I'm still a pipe fitter and then a part-time instructor. And now I'm the full-time instructor. But in that time between, I went and got my CWI. That's
Which
a
is
certified welding inspector. Extremely hard. I think it's a 30% passing rate across the nation, which recognizes me to be a certified welding educator and inspector on all sorts of many amazing jobs. I can do all that, so it qualifies me. And I'm an ATR, and I just graduated from another UA degree that I went through to pursue to get my journeyman status, not journeyman status, but my being able to teach journeymen and apprentices recognized.
Gotcha. You said, I think you said ATI?
ATR. It's
ATR, I'm sorry.
It's an accredited testing representative.
Gotcha. So we're going to dive into a little bit of that stuff later, the CWI and why that's important and stuff that a little bit later. But right now, you've had quite a few transitions. Like if we look at that, and we're like right in the midst of one. So you went from teaching part-time, welding full-time, to teaching full-time with a pre-apprenticeship with Utah Women in Trades, to and still part-time with the UA, and then went all the way like within, I think, like that was a year and a half in one role.
A year and a half.
And then now you're a full-time instructor with the UA. So with all of those transitions, I know some of those things seem like natural and normal because you were already teaching and you have been for a number of years. You've already been welding for a number of years, but going with the different organizations and doing things, just now getting used to a whole new thing where you're teaching more of your curriculum with the UA than you had been previously. And it's your full-time dedicated. So what has this transition's been like? I know we're really, like, it's really fresh right now. So
it's super fresh. So it's a lot of patience and just go back to basics, really, right? Like what has been tried and true. So I'm very much a people person and I'm a problem solver. So when people come to me with things, I feel like they already know that I'm going to find out what needs to happen. And so I pretty much do that within my life as it is. So as I foresee, which is why I volunteered for years before I became the vice president of Utah Women in Trades. Like I've been involved since 2013 with them. And then I became the vice president, I think in 2022, I believe. So I volunteered and that was it, was volunteering my time, showing up, being active, asking the questions, helped with every bit of each transition I went into. Having mentors, like you, Concetta, one of my favorite mentors right there is Concetta, as well as having allies and having my union brothers and sisters that had my back, because without that, I don't think I would have had that confidence to pursue some of these entities. But because I felt the lack of, like some of the instructors I had going through, not putting any shade or anything, I just seen the lack of what I was yearning for from an instructor going through the trades, that I didn't feel seen or heard as a woman. And so when I came through, I was like, I know what I needed. And so that's what I try and reflect now.
Right. And you do an incredible job at, like I said, engaging with your students. So Tanairi, I know I'm just going to this is where I said we'll probably go a little bit off script here. Tanairi, when you and I talked, like one of the reasons you chose your trade was because of all the potential and open doors and different career paths that you could possibly go down as your career progresses. So I think you definitely made the right, decision. And Nicci's a really great example of how just when those opportunities come, to keep an eye on them, but to stay engaged and be involved and also be good at your craft, right? Those kind of things help you get down those pathways. So I think that when I talked with you and you told me why you picked your trade and I knew Nicci and I'm like, oh, you guys need to meet. You guys need to meet because, she's pretty incredible and has kind of kicked in all of those doors that she wanted to. So if you're, she'd be a great person for you to kind of pick at her ear if you're wanting to, now you're a new journeyman, first year journeyman or journey
Ooh,
worker, that's
brand new.
tough.
Brand
So
new.
we're gonna get back to you, Tanairi, and talk about that your journey. But I want to know from Jenny. Jenny, how did you get your start? Because you had a lot of transitions as well.
Yes. So I got my start with us. I come in the gas side as a meter reader. At that time, we were actually driving around, picking up, doing things like that. Previously, I had read meters for Georgia Power on foot. So back in the day, we walked, 800 houses a day, no problem. So I was kind of thrilled that, on the gas side, we were able to drive them past them and pick them up. I then went to an above ground FSA, which is a field service. You have 3 levels on that. So, but that's where I got involved in my local union, which is 1997 and out of Georgia with Atlanta Gas Light. So I then stepped into our recording secretary there as I was transitioned into a field service for above ground gas work, which, went from activating gas customers to working leaks inside homes, outside homes, things like that. Then I transitioned into the financial secretary for our local union, which took me a step above to actually get to travel to the state from service center to service center to actually say, hey, this is what women can do. Also to meet the guys within our local union, to answer as many questions as possible about above ground work and our local union. So that was a treat. And then I transitioned into a crew lead position here in Savannah, and I was actually the first female in South Georgia to ever have the crew lead position held here. So that was kind of a big deal for us here. Again, it's just step by step, like Nicci has mentioned, it takes a lot of work, a lot of patience. You have to be persistent. And once you get on the roll with things, you just kind of keep moving because it's not really that you get greedy. You just really understand that women can do a lot of things. We might have to do it differently, but women can do a lot of things here. And now, which has promoted me into an operations foreman, which means that I maintain above and below ground facilities and our gentleman here and one lady that we have in Southeast Georgia. So it kind of flows a little different than you ladies have because our locals are in-house only. So it really just truly does with gas work. But being in all of these roles have given me great opportunity to meet ladies such as yourself, and have the opportunity to actually learn and see the wonderful opportunities that women have out here in this world today that's not really promoted, but because of you guys, here we sit.
Ooh,
Right. Now, Jenny, you talked about like you started, reading meters and then
Mhm,
moved around within the company. And
mhm,
I don't know for you out there, sometimes that's the path. So when you get started with the utility, sometimes you get in where you get in, and then you
mhm,
start exploring the different opportunities within
correct.
inside that employer, that utility. It does work a little bit different than construction. The training works a little bit different. We'll get to that,
Mhm,
but that's so if you were so you had the meter reader, you have the underground, you have the above ground, you
mhm.
have different roles that throughout, right? Could
Yep,
you
absolutely.
and then you just it's how do you just they post them and you're like, you know what, I want to try that, or do you learn about them because you work there and then you're like, you
So
know what, I'm going to watch out for that one? How does that work?
right. So you obviously working, in the service centers, there's a lot of communication amongst the guys. Sometimes we like to say that they're you can it's kind of like being in a beauty salon with a bunch of women, the gossip's going to be everywhere of every position that's going to come open. So you do hear about them, but your leadership does give you opportunities because we have training in house to go to classes, to educate yourself on the positions that are going to become available eventually. So if you want to learn something in a different department, you can go ahead and educate yourself in the in-house classes. And then when they do post, you do have the opportunity to go ahead and apply for those jobs and move about the company all over the state.
You've had all that transition and now you're fairly new. And by the way, I didn't orchestrate this. I reached out. These guys all happen to have some similar transitions happening in their lives, right? Or transitions. So you've just fairly recently transitioned into that foreman role, operations foreman. And how's that transition been for you? I mean, that's a lot of difference. You were telling me earlier, you're not touching your tools anymore. And I know that's hard for any of us that get in a role where we're not the ones turning the wrenches anymore.
I know, right, Nicci? Do it one more time for the ones in the back.
So how's that transition been?
So being out in the field, doing site visits and things like that with the guys, it's been wonderful because I still get to be out there with them and see that. But it's so hard because my tools have done my talking for me, and I absolutely love working with my hands and having to strategically think, on the spot and quick, on your feet. It has been hard to not touch those tools, but now I get the opportunity to take what I know, what I have learned, and help these gentlemen grow just like I have grown into this position for potentially getting them to go above and beyond in their career too. So I have to kind of step back and let them learn, but at the same time, maybe share some wisdom or some points of action or whatever to help them once again grow. So it's been hard, but at the same time, it's very rewarding because you're actually helping other people go through the same transition that you are, and you get to watch someone else grow as well.
Yeah, see, that's sometimes been my biggest thing is when we've gotten into roles like that, and you're working with people, and you just see them start to grow as well. So that's the example of bringing people along with you on your journey, right?
Absolutely,
and I think that's incredible. All right, Tanairi, you went from retail to being a plumber. Let's talk about a couple transitions. You went from working retail, and then you decided you wanted to get into trade, but you did some stuff between there. Like what? Talk to me about how you ended up.
Yes,
where you're at.
I was working retail, single mom of 2, broke as hell.
Yes, girl.
Not cutting it. And I came across an information session for women in the trades. And they wanted to get more women into the trades. So I went to the info session, which propelled me to joining a pre-apprenticeship program called Building Pathways. And that is where my story began. Because Building Pathways, the timing of the pre-apprenticeship is similar to working. It's 6:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. And I had a 4-year-old in preschool. And preschool doesn't start until 9 in the morning.
Yep.
So I kept my retail job working Saturday and Sunday, every Saturday and Sunday, just so that I can pay for his before school program while I did my pre-apprenticeship for 6 weeks.
Wow. See, that's determination. But I think that's a really good example, like an incredible thing, because you're like, you know what, this is what I want, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. I know it's like something's got to get different, and I'm going to make it happen. So I really commend you on that. So you do the pre-apprenticeship. And then
I got into local 12 plumbers and gas fitters, and I was able to put myself in a better financial situation for me and my children.
See, I love that. I love that. But I want to, there's so many people who don't take the steps to say, hey, this is what I want. And then, okay, there's going to be some challenges, and I'm going to figure out those challenges. So I just think I don't know if I would have done the same thing when I got started, because I was a little more spoiled and I didn't have anybody depending on me. And so to me, when I see people that have done that stuff, I'm like, hats off to you. Absolutely. Your kids are going to so benefit for it. So you were talking about, we talked a little bit when you got into the trade, one thing that you weren't prepared for. And this is where, we make it sound like it's so much fun and everything's, but you said you weren't prepared for the, I forget how you said it, but for the mental shift that you needed to be a blue collar worker.
Right. Because when you're a woman in an apprenticeship, you're highly protected by the apprenticeship. But no one really talks about what happens when you journey out and how difficult it can be. And nobody prepares you for, example, your first layoff. So that mental capacity of working in that industry Monday through Friday, when Friday comes, you never know. Am I going to be asked to work overtime tomorrow? Or am I going to get my layoff check today?
I remember really struggling with that too, for a long time, like just not knowing. And then depending on what happens, you're like, okay, so how's that a reflection of me? Like if I got laid off, what did I do wrong? And I found out way later in my career, it had absolutely nothing to do with me. Like it had absolutely nothing. And it was part of the industry, right? Ups and downs of the industry. Sometimes, different things influence the industry. But hopefully, here being able to plan for those times is one thing that anybody you really need to start asking. If you start into a trade, you want to start talking to those journey workers around you about how to navigate those. So, because yeah, it's a little tough, and you'll experience that through your whole career. Hey, are they going to ask me to work overtime or get my check? Like, am I getting laid off? And so, what changes is when you prepare, and it doesn't matter what they come to you with, right? You're okay either way. So just know that that's out there, and I'm glad that you brought that up in our conversation. Because go ahead, Nicci, I see.
I like that. I know. Trying not to cut in, but
Do it. Just jump in.
I agree because I didn't feel prepared either. And when I finally journeyed out and got my journey levels card, and immediately I was like, okay, I got laid off, and then I'm hitting the road because it was a super low season here, but I was able to finally hit the road, right? Which really broadened up my perspective on that, and meeting everybody else and understanding that that's just the way the cookie crumbles in construction, right? And understanding that jobs come to an end. So if the job comes to an end, and that was really the thing, is that it didn't grasp in my mind at that going through the apprenticeship, because we're always passed right on to the next one, right to the next one. Like there's really no lull in between there, right? So yeah, I agree with you. There was no preparation for that, but I feel like if we can look at, and I do now, I prepare my students now, especially when I'm doing my ARPs, my apprenticeship readiness program stuff. Like I'm like, we could dive into financial literacy, and I go into depth on how many people join in and journeyman and they immediately go out and buy a brand new shiny truck, and I'm like, no, get yourself a beater car and save that money, man.
I'm just going to jump in and say, hey guys, get your questions. If they're not in that chat, get them in the chat, because we're going to be jumping to questions here as soon as the next one's up. But we're going to, I agree. I actually got laid off as an apprentice. They brought in a bunch of apprentices because there was so much work. And then the big job just shut down. And so I got laid off as an apprentice. And that really, like, I didn't even know anybody in the industry. I didn't have anybody to ask. There was nothing. So kudos to you guys, made it all the way through your apprenticeship. In between the questions, I'm just wondering if Jenny and Nicci, if either one of you have any, well, you kind of went over some of it, but any advice for Tanairi on either the mental fortitude or just...
The biggest advice I can give you is show up, right? When they're like, I need volunteers, show up. You want more women involved, you have to be that face and show up. I don't know how many job fairs I'd done before I even made any kind of, and I have graduated journeywomen in my trade now that the only reason that they came in and are through is because they seen me at a job fair. And so I'd grab them in, come in here, let's talk about this, right? And then if you can be a TA or a teacher's assistant, or even get in with your hall or your school to even participate in that, because that is a big deal. We need instructors. And if you can get into that mode, oh, honey, that's a game changer right there, right?
I think Tanairi's already well along her way. I can see
it
in your eyes right now.
Oh yes, I got so much for you, honey. You call me, we'll talk.
I told you, you just wait till
you have no idea. I have all this energy. Let's get it.
Let's get up with those questions. All right, Hannah G asked Tanairi, your story seems like it could have been me. How did you find the faith to make the change? You are amazing.
Thank you, Hannah. you know what? I found the faith really in my children because I'm all they have. And losing was just not an option for me. So
I agree. I have 6 kids. I'm a single mom, so I agree with you. That's exactly was my drive. And I did going through my apprenticeship, like my kids when I was going through were my youngest was 5 and my oldest was 15. So I had a plethora in there, right? But I could lean on my teenager to help me with my younger kids. But the first half of my apprenticeship, I was working all day and then I was doing night school. So like for 2.5 years, I swear I didn't see my kids. I didn't go to dances or anything like that. Anyway, sorry.
no,
I digress.
it's a huge sacrifice. But
It
you
is.
have to just think about the bigger picture at the end.
Yep.
So we're going for like a short-term sacrifice for the long-term
Correct.
gain.
Yes.
You have to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my daughter is now 17. So there was many times that being the first female, the only female out of our family to ever succeed like this, you look at your daughter. So it's not only that, you do things for her, but you also have to show her, the stepping stone to light her way. So yeah, moms, it's tough on moms, but I don't know, the kids, they push us through every time.
They do.
Phenomenal. Oh, and you are truly amazing, Tanairi. I can't say it enough. We got another question here. Stella R asks, what surprised you most when you first started your career? Oh, this is a good one. So should we just do a round robin? Tanairi, you want to start with this one?
I would say that as a plumber, I really don't work with poop. I haven't touched any poop. Everyone asks like, "Oh, you're a plumber. You probably touch poop all day." No, everything that I have installed is new.
New construction, baby.
Yes, like I have never touched poop, so that was a surprise for me because I did think that at some point I would probably come in contact with poop. But
that's like the best answer ever.
It is because I didn't think about porta johns or anything like that. I didn't think about that stuff or like going out and doing underground or any of that stuff. And I'm not a plumber, so I don't know, but I understand that because I have to tell that to the pre-apprenticeship, our girls, Concetta, when they was coming through and they would always be like, I don't want to be a plumber. And I'm like, you're not touching the poo pipe. We don't do that. We do new pipe only. So I love that.
That's right. I think that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions. Because I've heard that with some of the other plumbers that I know. They're like, yeah, no, if you're a service plumber, you might run into some stuff, but for the most part, you're new construction in a lot of the plumbing work there. So anybody else want to? Jenny, do you want to give us your biggest surprise that you had?
The biggest surprise I had, I think, was the determination I had. When I seen, again, down here in the South, it's kind of a man's world in the gas industry. So I think it was the biggest surprise for me, the motivation, the strength, the courage that I had in myself to outcome and to outgrow a lot of the things that were coming my way from these gentlemen that told me that I couldn't do it. So I think for me, it was just the thing that I mustered in myself to grow and be like, I really surprised myself because I was, small town. I didn't speak out much. I was just kind of to myself. And then all of a sudden I just blossomed out of nowhere. So I think the biggest surprise for me was myself.
Nice. Phenomenal. Nicci, what was your biggest surprise when you got started?
The biggest surprise to me was how much gossip happens on job sites. I mean, I don't know. Growing up, thinking about when my grandpa and my dad and everybody at work and stuff and what they did, and I'm like, God, were they really gossiping as much as these guys? Because I thought we always hear like it's us, like it's the women, and I have to say no.
I 100% agree. Like I said, it's like men in a beauty shop. It is.
Yes.
It is. It's funny.
That's funny.
That was my biggest surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get one more question before we move on. Ashley S. asks, from someone who has had to deal with general contractors when it came to a pumping room for a nursing mother, I'm a huge advocate for breastfeeding mothers, especially in our trades. What advice do you have for new mothers when there is pushback and discouragement?
Ooh, well, that's a good question. As far as the UA side goes, I know that we have started implementing that, and I think there's going to be some kind of act or law put into place that we can uh, pump at work, and it shouldn't be a problem. I know the UA has gone forward on doing many things like that, like maternity leave as well as paternity leave, and doing the Pregnancy Fairness Act and Breastfeeding Fairness Act. There's so many things like that going on, and we are huge advocates for that as well.
You might have to work out some of the local details on how that's implemented where you're at, but there's a lot of discussion in that going on around it, but you probably have to work through local resources to solve some of those problems. Anybody else want to comment on that?
So I think in our area down here, being that it's a little different from you ladies, we we have the maternity and paternity leave as well, but also we do, as mothers, we all our company has always taken into consideration, and our local has always taken in consideration the female side of this, because they actually do see us as we're a big part of this whole team as well. So I think that, like you said, depending on where you are and depending on what you can bring up to your leadership, that you can work it out. But it truly depends on where you are, because I know everywhere is different. But I know that for the most part, everybody's pretty well considerate, of moms that are still nursing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I haven't had any job site where it has ever been a problem to put a pump station for moms. So it really depends on how it's implemented where you are. But I've never seen it to be a problem.
Yeah, the industry, like I said, it's really surprisingly waking up to us in a lot of ways. So Yasmin C asks, I'm 37 and recently passed 2 exams for 2 different unions. I want to work and I'm determined to get into construction. When it comes to waiting for a call, what do you advise I do while I wait?
Ooh, go ahead.
Well, I want to say 2 things. Is one, if you pass the test for 2 different unions, if it's different trades, I think that's one piece of advice. And if it's like, which one you want, you're just waiting for them to call you to work, that's a kind of a different piece of advice. But Nicci, I'll let you tackle it, and I'm sure you could cover both.
I think on that, when you're waiting for a call, 2 different trades, right? You're going to go for the one that calls you first, I guess, right? Because regardless, you have a probationary period in whatever trade you go into in an apprenticeship. It's usually 6 months to a year, right? That's the time that you have in there. So if it's not a good fit for you, that is your opportunity to go to that other trade that called you, right? Or that you applied to. However, in the meantime of waiting for the calls, stay brushed up on your math. Look at any kind of things that pertain to those types of trades that you can continue to get that knowledge, whether it's reading a book, whether it's practicing welding, whether it's doing some soldering and brazing. You can do those things on your own at home, or find a mentor. Find your local tradeswomen group around you, because I guarantee you they have some kind of classes, seminars, or something like that going on. And if it's something like depending on what trade, right? So if you're, say, you want to go to operating engineers, for instance, right? You know that you're going to have to probably get your CDL. Not always are they going to have that ready for you to go. So if you pursue some of those curriculum that you can do ahead of time, that would benefit you and put you more tools in your belt to be a better candidate for them.
If the trades that you're deciding between, if either of them have any open houses, like, you should go and sit in on an open house.
Love
Great
that.
advice. Great advice. Jenny, do you have any?
I'm not familiar with those with that field. Obviously, being an in-house union with the company. I agree with both of these ladies, not having any familiar, with any of it. It would be hard for me to say, but both of them gave great advice.
So if we were to just kind of rephrase it a little bit, and let's say somebody on this webinar says, you know what, I really like what Jenny had to say about her career, and I want to pursue, something more like that, less like construction, something more, like straight with the utility. But I looked for a job there and they're not hiring for that position. what should I do in the meantime? So when they do post a job like that, that maybe would make me a good candidate for that position.
So you can always, like the technical schools, you can always, like Nicci said, put yourself out there to educate yourself further. The more you have under your belt as far as education, the more knowledge you have. You also have like opportunities to come in and talk with us. We also go to the schools and things like that. If you have any questions, you can always call and talk to us to help, get information on how you can educate yourself further. But with us being, the company that we are, and again, I'm speaking for me, not for our company.
Right.
You honestly just have to watch when they post things. And again, if you know somebody, or if you see us on the streets, we have people that come to us on the streets asking how can they apply, or, how did you get in this, or just holding conversation with us. And we love that because we love having those conversations. But, Southerners like to talk anyway.
You're not the first person from that standpoint that has said that. We had another guest that represented employers really say the same thing. Go talk to them when they're out there on the street
if you
working.
see us, come talk to us, because you never know. You never know who you may meet that can put in a good word for you to get you in the position that you want to be in.
Nice.
To kind of stick our neck out there and say, hey, we met this person. He's pretty good, or she.
Yeah. Okay, so Savi Francis, she was a panelist from the PowHER Hour Workplace Culture and Support Systems. So she's one of our guests, and I think a fellow trade sister with the Boston Union Trade Sisters. So she just wanted to say congratulations, ladies, on your journey and your stories. They are very powerful and uplifting. So that's great. Thanks, Savi. We like to hear these absolutely. We all like to hear that we're out there doing the good work, and these women, you're right, are incredible. Okay, well, thank you for joining us for exploring the pipe trades. We'll continue with Tanairi, Jenny, and Nicci in part 2, where we talk a little bit more about pipe trades training and apprenticeship and what it might look like depending on what's going on in your area, as well as some personal insights on what they feel has contributed to their success. Thank you for joining PowHER Hour. Join our live PowHER Hours at higherpower.org. Share Higher Power with anyone considering energy industry careers. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also listen to Higher Power wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next week for another PowHER Hour.